Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the book. We've known each other a while, and not necessarily everyone in the audience knows that, but we've known each other for a while and communicated over the years. And my genuine curiosity as someone who's gotten to know you is you're involved in the entertainment industry. You work in this kind of broadly line of work of getting in front of people. So what made you decide to step from that world into the world of being an author of a book?
Boy, I guess just playing a lot of golf and finding a lot of people that I didn't really enjoy playing golf with, I think is probably the answer. Just the genesis of the book was really, about 7-8 years ago, my buddies and I were playing sort of every Saturday and, just being paired up with people that you're just like, what are we doing here? And I think I decided at some point, I'm going to write a book about these people and how horrible it is to play with random people on Saturdays that you don't want to play with. And it sort of became a running joke over the years where it's like that guy, he was a chapter in your book. And finally, I decided to sit down and write it, I guess is the answer. But in writing it, I sort of realized, you sort of just seem like a total jerk if you're just writing about people you don't like. So I sort of made it into a more personal story about my dad. And growing up playing the game, and then he passes when I'm like 14, and how interesting it is to like grow up, trying to play the game without your father. And it all sort of meshes into archetypes of people that I don't like on the golf course. The biggest one, of course, being myself, because you wind up just being an angry person. And that's sort of the beginning of it.
I guess where along the way did you kind of figure out that you had an aversion to these different types of people? Was it something you knew early on, or just kind of over time it wears you out and you go, I don't like that, and I don't like that, and I don't like that?
Well, it's funny, we were talking prior, but I'm definitely an introvert for sure, and we were saying that authors are inherently introverts, but it's the writing part of it is you don't tell people a lot of these things. They're things you keep inside, and you're like, yeah, the guy that just told me, just a quick story from the book, was playing this round in Burbank, California, and this guy told me he had played a Ronimink in Philly like a couple of weeks ago, and he had shot 79. And I'm watching this guy, and he's probably like 7 over through 6 holes, and DeBell is like, this course we were playing, it's about 5,800 yards and, not very difficult. And I'm like, this guy's 7 over through 6 holes, and he's telling me he shot 79 at a Ronimink 2 weeks ago. BS. Like, that is absolutely not true. But I have nobody I can tell this type of thing to. So you just keep it bottled up, and eventually the guy that's shooting 93, but you should have seen him last week, becomes a chapter in the book.
I mean, for me, obviously, there are a lot of, I think, people that I've met that are like the archetypes that you've created and identified through the book, but I haven't met them all. So I felt like there was some identity of, oh yeah, I've definitely played with someone like that before. But also there were a bunch of, I've never met that kind of guy yet, or I haven't played with that kind of person yet. So how long did it take you to figure out all the different types of people?
A while. I mean, this book sat for a while. So I started writing it maybe 6-7 years ago. And, I just needed more stuff to happen to me in order to come up with the rest of them and have more life experience to get to the point of figuring out who the rest of them were. And actually, it's funny when someone out there reads it, I think it'll be really funny to hear from someone if they can pick out what the last chapter I wrote was, because it's definitely the most personal one. But it was an experience that just happened recently, maybe 6 months ago, where I was like, I got it. I finally got it. This is the chapter that's going to finish the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious what you haven't run into. Like, have you not run into the guy that won't let his wife play her own game?
I've definitely run into that guy for sure, but I don't think I've run into it maybe as often as other people. It's certainly not in like the way that I imagine it, like someone's intensely overbearing about it almost. Sure. But I mean, they've definitely seen the, oh, honey, you should probably X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Almost passive aggressively, not like lording over somebody.
Oh, I've seen it aggressively and passive aggressively. I mean, I've seen, just looks saying, yeah, you should probably pick up and not putt out when she's putting for 8 or whatever. And you're like, just let her play. I mean, we're all here. We're going to wait on the next tee anyway. What are we doing here? Just let her have fun. What are you doing, guy?
Now, do you think some of and this is not necessarily an indictment of Los Angeles or the entertainment industry. It's going to sound like it, but it's not meant to be.
It's okay.
Is some of it the community where you've grown up playing golf, where you have been playing golf? I mean, I don't think that it is, but is some of it related to that?
Well, I think that's probably true. Like, I think Los Angeles, there's another part of the book that sort of goes into this, but there's a big arms race for private club memberships in LA, and I think in a lot of big cities. And I think that if you're talking about a smaller city, and I think the one I mentioned in the book was like Richmond. I think in Richmond, Virginia, there's probably not the 12-course arms race to get a private club membership, because there just isn't enough money in the city to warrant that kind of arms race type thing. So I think in LA, yeah, you're running to like a lot of different people that may not be playing municipal city golf courses that are in other parts of the country. You know what I mean? I think the same is true in Boston, by the way. In Boston, there's, 7 crazy, awesome private clubs you want to be a member at, and a lot of other ones.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to around here. I mean, there's a fair share of private clubs, but there's a handful that are the ones.
The club, yeah, for sure.
And if you remember that, you are probably sitting pretty. Otherwise, you're probably in the kind of B tier club. Like I'm a member of a B tier club, and I'm happy about it. But I'm a member of a B tier club. But I also feel like there are people who have plenty of money to be a member at a place like mine that are playing public golf week to week. So maybe that's a little bit different versus.
I think it's probably a little different in LA. Yeah, that's my guess. And I was also, by the way, a member at a 9-hole course in Sharon, Massachusetts. Like that's sort of how the journey of the book starts. Like when my dad passes at 14, his best friend from high school, who's a member at this 9-hole course, took me out, and they all bought me a junior membership. And I was a junior member until I was 21. And I probably would have stopped playing golf at that point had he not, invited me to the club. So yeah, I sort of get it from the private and the public perspective. And I think there's parts of the book that go to both ends of it.
But the thing I think I've realized over time playing at a private club in basically my 30s and public golf the rest of the way, the distribution of people that kind of fit into these 18 archetypes isn't all that different between public golf and private golf. It's everywhere. It may be slightly better in one than the other, but generally speaking, the bell curve is the bell curve. It's not.
I think that's probably right. Yeah. Although, it's funny, at private clubs that I've been at or had belonged to years ago, I don't remember a lot of people playing golf with their wives at private clubs. It was always sort of the women's club would play in the morning or mid-morning, the men would play in the morning, and then the working people would play in the afternoon. I think it sort of goes in all different directions of private clubs in that circumstance, but yeah.
Now, do you think a lot of the people that the 18 different kind of types of people, do a lot of the people you think of as kind of the worst to play with blend a bunch of them together? They're not just one guy.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. A lot of people cross-pollinate. I think that's definitely true. But yeah, like I don't know. I think they're definitely archetypes. I don't think in most cases I'm talking about one specific person, and it's more as a way to relate personal stories within those archetypes to golf. So I'm really not trying to hate on anybody, and hopefully the tongue-in-cheekness comes across in the book.
And it does. But but there also are real grading things that happen that can take away from your entertainment of golf too. And I wonder how much of it is people just don't know. Like they almost need to be told, don't do that. This is bad. You're ruining someone's day or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if a guy is leaving his bag like on the opposite side of the green from the next tee 18 times, that's going to just cost you like 20 minutes. And I don't know why people do it. Like I'm not the person that needs to say that there's a prerequisite for getting into golf, but someone should probably shepherd these people into figuring out how to do things to make it fun for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like I had several people growing up who were like, Brian, don't do that. Or this will make the game quicker, or the proper etiquette is X, Y, and Z. And not necessarily in a buttoned up, thumb your nose kind of way. More like, this is how golf goes faster and is more enjoyable for everyone. Yeah. So I don't know if everyone has that. I don't think we have that as golf. Like there's no golf ecosystem. It's like, hey, welcome to golf. Here's the stuff you shouldn't do to ruin everybody's day, and you're going to get along just great.
Well, when you go out and play private clubs, I assume you don't have to fix 3-4 pitch marks on every green, right?
Oh no, I I do. That's
Really? Still playing private golf all the time? That
I mean, a lot
kind of bums me out if I'm being honest.
Is kids. They're younger people, in their 20s and teens who I guess were never taught when you make when you make a ball mark on a green, you repair yours and one more, because that's what I was always taught.
I mean, I'm doing it when everybody's putting. The other 3 people that are putting in my group, I'm just walking around fixing ball marks when I'm not putting. Yeah. It could be 20 of them. It doesn't matter.
People look at me weird that I'm doing them, like, but this is what I was taught to do, and I think it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, I mean, I think what the book sort of tries to do is to take that person that doesn't fix pitch marks into another part of their life and figure out what other things are they so inconsiderate about that they aren't doing. Like, do they go home or do they take all the hot water before their wife can shower? Yeah, they must, because like, why else wouldn't you be fixing pitch marks? No one wants to putt over craters in the moon. I don't know what they're doing.
And I do think about that a lot. I think about, well, if you can't even be conscientious on the golf course, what do you like in the rest of your life?
Yeah.
You all the time, or are you just trying to be a dick on the golf course and saintly everywhere else?
But I think, like, to your point, I think just some people don't know better and weren't taught. I think that's right.
So just kind of spin it off the topic of people that you hate playing golf with, who are the people what are the kinds of people, what are the traits of the people that are the best to play golf with?
That's a good question. I think probably the opposite of some of the things I'm saying in the book. So I have a couple of good friends where they know that if I dunk 2 9-irons in a par 3, probably don't ask me about the Red Sox, like in the next 5 minutes. Like, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. And I think I've developed friendships over the years with people that I play with that are going to know when is the right time to yuck it up in the middle of a round and when not to. Funny people. Like, I love playing golf with funny people. I think, living in LA, it's funny, you run into a lot of comedians, and I play golf with a lot of funny people. Those are the best people to play golf with always. And I think, like, since the pandemic, I'm curious how much you're walking versus riding these days. I basically gave up golf carts altogether, like when the pandemic started, because there was a whole thing where you had to like take a single cart out as a single rider, and then you had to pay the whole rate. And it was like, well, this is stupid. Why don't I just walk? And subsequently, I'm like 80 pounds lighter and my hair is long and whatever. But that became a really fun part of golf that as a result of the pandemic. So,
yeah, I mean,
anyway, to say now I basically play with all walkers, which is great.
Yeah, and I've kind of walked away from carts generally, unless I'm playing in like a like I'm forced to do it. Like
you're in a scramble or something, of course. Yeah.
Have you? But I would much prefer to walk. I think I absolutely agree with you. Funny people make it. Just people in general who don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
They're not grinding over 3-footers. They're not mad for 3 holes in a row if they made a bogey, a 3-putt bogey, stuff like that.
Okay, but when my friends watch this, they're going to be like, yeah, but you're that guy. Which, again, I think is the point of the book. I'm a mutterer. I'm a serial mutterer. I'm like, man, that was a terrible bogey. Walking down 2 holes later, God, I can't believe I made double 2 holes ago. I live with it the whole round. And like, I've developed friends they laugh at me for it. And I think that's what the funny relationships in golf have developed for me. I'm willing to laugh at myself, and I'm willing to let people laugh at me. And I think that's the fun part.
But at least you know it, right? I mean, at least you know that about yourself. And I think at least having the self-awareness to know it can put you in a position to not be a bad person to play with. At least you know what you do.
There's nothing worse than someone who's unself-aware or not self-aware. It's terrible. And
I think people are so polite, especially if you don't know somebody, if you don't know that person, that you're not willing to tell them, like, hey, man, like, you just can't do this. You got to stop. Or do you know that you do this? I mean, I've never had someone come up to me and go, hey, do you know that you do X, Y, and Z when you play golf? No one, even good stuff. No one tells me. So why would you go up to a total stranger and be like, hey, why don't you take the golf bag on the other side of the green, and then you can just grab it on the way to the next hole?
Well, I've had to be pulled aside a couple of times I'll mention my friend Aaron. He's had to pull me aside a couple of times and say, that probably wasn't a good idea to scare those 2 people who were playing with by throwing your 5-iron 75 yards in front of them. Anyway, I've had to be pulled aside. And again, I think what I'm saying is I'm the idiot. Like, let's all make fun of me for it. And that's part of the genesis of the book too.
Yeah, and I think the message at the end of the day is we all have flaws. We all do things wrong. It's a game of flaws, right? And we all do things that probably we're not proud of when we play golf. But at the end of the day, need to kind of have some levity about it because we all stink at golf, and frankly, we all kind of stink at life.
I think that's probably right. I think someone needs to sponsor, there should be an auction at some point where you can bid in a round with Bob Rotella. And one of these days, like, I need to play golf with Dr. Bob because, like, I've read Golf is Not a Game of Perfects and whatever. And I would really love to know what he thinks of my performance out there mentally.
I think I have developed an aversion over the years to playing golf with people or playing golf in a format that I think is toxic to me, whether that's tournaments that take 5.5 hours to play around because everyone's grinding, or just people who are grading. I can tolerate it for a day if I have to, but I would almost rather not and save myself the annoyance. So I feel like some of it is self-preservation, putting yourself in a position, if you can, to not have to deal with this kind of stuff.
I don't disagree. Last year I caddied in 2 qualifiers. I caddied in one for the Farmers Insurance Open and then one for the US Open. And oh my God, it was 6 hours. There are people who after 3 holes, they have absolutely no chance of qualifying, and they're marking and then stepping away and then remarking and then making sure the alignment is, and I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't seem like the kind of golf I'd like to play. And look, I'm like God, if I say I'm a 6 right now, I'm definitely going to be a 9 by the time this comes out, but I'm a 6 right now. I'm never going to be great. And if I think my record for playing 18 holes is like 2 hours and 42 minutes, just walking like that. That's the kind of pace I want to play at. I can't deal with those 5.5 hour rounds anymore.
Yeah. I'd rather walk off than torture myself.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, and I think there's a large I did short story. I play this place around here called Hampshire Greens. I was playing with a buddy. We were scheduled to play all 18. It took 3 hours to play the first 9.
At a private club?
No, public.
Okay. I was like, oh my God.
It's also kind of difficult, but I had somewhere to be. I mean, I didn't schedule 6 hours. So I walked into the clubhouse. I was like, I got to go. Is there any way? And the guy just unprompted is like, here's a rain check for all 18. Come back. I'm sorry.
Good for that guy. I had the same thing happen at Santa Anita Golf Course maybe 4 months ago. It gave us a rain check. We played 3 holes, and it's funny enough that the hole I mentioned in the book, the 3rd hole at Santa Anita, it's a par 5. We were on the tee. There was another group on the tee, 2 in different points in the fairway and 1 on the green. And my buddy and I were like, we're walking in. This is stupid. Like, we're not doing this for 6.5 hours. And they gave us a rain check for the whole thing. So I'm totally.
Great. At the end of the day, do you hope to hear from people who have read the book and regale you with kind of some of their stories, or kind of commiserate a little bit in some of their experiences?
It's funny. A lot of people, friends of mine, have been like, why did you write a book? And I was like, because I just need to hear from people I don't know. Look, the book has done very well in the short time it's been out amongst people I know. They think it's great, but the only thing I wrote it for was to hear from people that I don't know about not only the golf parts of it, but look, it's a really personal story. I mean, there's some real, I don't want to say heavy parts in it, but look, the book starts with my dad dying at 14 and then, having nowhere to go, and then goes to meeting my wife and trying to teach her to play golf. And all I want to do is hear from people I don't know about not only the golf, but the personal stuff.
All right, well, let's make that happen. How can people get a hold of you on Twitter, or however you want them to get a hold of you once they've read the book or had a chance to look at it?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. Like we were saying, I'm a shameless non-self promoter. I really don't know how to do this. So you can buy the book on Amazon. It's free as a Kindle edition if you're a Kindle subscriber. I'm on Twitter at FU Podcast or at 18 People Book. Either is perfectly fine. And I would like nothing more to hear from you because, God, I really need to know that this wasn't dumb.
I can tell you it definitely wasn't dumb. It's a really enjoyable read. And I think any golfer who has encountered any of these types of people, which you almost certainly have if you ever play golf, you'll understand and appreciate it. And then add in your personal story to it. It really rounds it out really well. It's a fun read.
Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
So the book is The 18 People I Hate Playing Golf With. and you get it now at Amazon. We'll have a link on our website as well, and I'll tweet it out at my Twitter handle at Ryan Ballengee. So thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.